There are two things to become aware of: our ego sense and the world. They arise together. The ego sense is a very real thing. It's our underlying tone, our inner posturing to what we perceive as the world. We need to drop both of these in due course. For all embodied beings, there are two forms of disease. The first relates to this world, and the second relates to the other world. I think that's what we'd call the hereafter. The other world is the hereafter. For illnesses which are related to life in this world, ignorant people try to find a remedy before their lives come to an end. That doesn't seem like such a bad thing to do, does it? If you've got an illness, you look for a remedy. But there are no such remedies for the problems connected with the life beyond. One cannot hope to remedy them in the other world, for such remedies do not exist in the other world. If one is unable to find a remedy for the dreadful disease known as ignorance here in this world, one can surely not find a remedy after leaving this world. Therefore, do not waste your time in trying to find futile remedies for the problems connected with your life in this world. By self-knowledge, rid yourself of the problems connected with the life hereafter. There is no time to lose, for life is ebbing away all the time. Well, it's quite clear that we're not talking about your average illnesses, which is perfectly natural to look for remedies for. We're talking about the psychological remedies. Remedies for anxiety, insecurity, fear, emotional pain and distress. There probably are things that you can do, but most therapies are coping strategies. Now, if you believe in another life, is that what you're going to carry on doing in your next life? Pursue coping strategies? Or are you going to take the opportunity you've got now to actually get to the heart of the matter? Let's first of all just say a little bit about the assumption of other lives. I mean, this is clearly the assumption of the context in which Yoga Vasishta was produced. And if you're watching this video, you probably don't have much problem with the idea of future lives. But I'm not somebody that assumes that possibility. However, I do assume the possibility of continuity. I think it's more likely that things continue rather than come to a dead stop. Things don't just stop. Everything carries on in one form or another. As human beings in the normal waking state, we are in a unique position. We can alter our own programming. We can consciously alter our own programming. I'm going to make an analogy here with recording a CD. When you listen to some music on a CD, at some point the music will stop. The CD will come to an end. But the pattern is still embedded on the CD. And at some point there's a possibility that it can be played again. So I'm going to suggest that this is our situation. We are laying down a pattern. We're laying down a recording. This is the opportunity we have in this lifetime, to lay down a recording. Now, the recording we've got already might be rather raucous and unpleasant to listen to. So what we're going to do is smother it up. Take Prozac. Just indulge yourself in addictive pleasures. Get caught up in some addiction which will help us to forget it. This is what drives addictions on in the first place. Or do we work through that? Do we acknowledge our situation? our condition. Do we see what we can do to lay down a new recording, or at least to remove the old recording, so that the painful experience is not repeated at a future time, either in this life or the next life? So we have an opportunity in the ordinary waking state to develop this awareness, to develop self-knowledge, and to look at the patterns which are our egosense, to look at the deep emotional tones, the emotional postures that we are usually unaware of, and which we adopt from moment to moment. The alternative to adopting a posture in accordance with our ego sense is to be completely open, completely open. Now the opportunity arises in this waking state because when we're asleep, unless you believe the stories of certain types of yoga, you're buffeted around. You're not in control. You're at the mercy of whatever levels of your mind are operating. And there's no reason to assume that this isn't also the case when you die. There are stories, of course, especially within the Tibetan tradition, of being able to maintain some awareness between lives. And if you can do that, that's great. But as far as we know, as far as our experience tells us right now, our moments of lucidity are very brief. Seize them, make the most of them, develop self-knowledge, awareness, look at what's going on. There is no time to lose, for life is ebbing away all the time. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity as human beings, as intelligent, rational human beings with this awareness. We have the opportunity to remove our painful programming so that it does not play again. If you do not uplift yourself from the mire of pleasure, you cannot find any other remedy. The fool who revels in pleasure invites sorrow and misfortune. Just as the strength of manhood manifests in the energy of childhood, the fullness of perfection, nirvana, begins with the effectiveness of self-discipline or the abandonment of the pursuit of pleasure. The life stream of the knower of truth flows in harmony, while the life stream of the ignorant is full of whirlpools which suck you under. So the abandonment of the pursuit of pleasure, it seems a little bit harsh, doesn't it? But there's nothing wrong with pleasure in itself, but it's the addiction, it's the addictive quality. So the pursuit of pleasure really should be the pursuit of comfort, the pursuit of addiction, the pursuit of fetish. These things hook us in, and we lose our sense of being. The program gets etched once again and plays over and over again. It's the nature of addiction, isn't it? The nature of fetish. It's repetitive. We're hooked into it. We're like junkies. So the pursuit of pleasure is about being a junkie. And we won't argue with that invites sorrow and misfortune. This is what needs to be abandoned.